Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It turns out that, thanks to information revealed, that Nicola Sturgeon knew all about the post office scandal 4 years ago, well before she claimed she knew, well before she said that it was brought to her attention. So once again, lying. And then decided 4 years ago that the best course of action would be, rather than getting to the heart of the matter, rather than trying to sort this out, rather than trying to do good by the people who were affected, that she'd keep her mouth shut and let a massive miscarriage of justice occur because it was her government that took these people to court and destroyed so many lives. Now, if she's known at that point, then that must surely open her up, not necessarily to criminal proceedings, but certainly to civil proceedings, and people can come after her personally. Oh, I do hope so, because on top of everything else that she's facing, with all the various investigations of criminal behaviour, she could now be liable for a lot of money from a lot of people, and it'll be personal liability, not the government paying. It makes you glad to be alive. We live in an age of wonder. Let's take a look. So, Nicola Sturgeon ignored post office scandal after being told about it 4 years ago. Justice Secretary Angela Constance says the former First Minister was made aware in January 2020, while Humza Yousaf knew about it in September last year. Now, I'll give Humza Yousaf no credence on this because he was Justice Secretary as well. He must have been aware of it. He may not have officially known about it as leader until last year, but undoubtedly he was aware. But the point is, she must have made the decision. If she's ignored it and not addressed it and not gone to government, in the cabinet and said, look, I've been made aware of this, we need to sort this out, this could be a liability, and chose not to herself by her own decision, then that is where the liability lies. She could be massively in trouble. That's a shame, isn't it? Let's have a look down onto this because it is just fantastic to read. So, Nicola Sturgeon has been accused of ignoring the Post Office Horizon scandal after being told about it 4 years ago. Justice Secretary Constance was forced to admit concerns were first raised with the First Minister in 2020. Now, it seems Angela Constance is throwing her under the bus. Because, of course, Constance, who's currently in charge but wasn't at the time, so she can't be laid directly at the guilt cannot be laid directly at Angela Constance's door then. But she does not want to be picking up this particular parcel and running with it now. So she is saying, oh, no, she knew. Without doubt, Nicola Sturgeon knew. Here's a bus. Let me throw you under it. Marvellous. Anyway, it surrounds convictions sought by the Crown Office in relation to sub-postmasters accused of stealing money. It later emerged glitches in the Horizon system were responsible for the missing cash. Ultimately, of course, Fujitsu must make all reparations in terms of money. But in terms of the decisions which led to the damages, the claims, and in some cases imprisonment, that's down to Nicola Sturgeon, I think. She will have to pay. Now, if it's a criminal matter, that's one thing. But if it's a civil matter, the burden of proof is a lot less, of course. She could end up having to sell all her houses and the camper van just to pay these people. That'd be a shame, wouldn't it? Her sitting there in a little 2-up, 2-down council house in Arbroath, moaning that she hasn't got the money to pay for the lawyers for her upcoming mass murder trial, perhaps. Anyway, responding to a written question from Tory MSP Russell Findlay, Miss Constance admitted the alarm was raised in January 2020, 11 years after the story started appearing in the press. The row centred on the public consciousness last year, thanks to the ITV drama Mr Bates and the Post Office. The UK government is now looking at mass exoneration for those wrongly convicted. However, the Scottish government is under pressure to take steps to clear the names of sub-postmasters convicted under Scots law. And the difference, of course, is in England, they were prosecuted independently by the Crown Prosecution Service, whereas in Scotland they weren't. It was not an independent prosecution. Miss Constance's response also suggested Humza Yousaf knew about the scandal in September 2020 when he was informed that the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission would write to 73 convicted postmasters, encouraging all those who may have suffered a miscarriage of justice to make contact with it. In which case, I apologise. I was reading from the beginning. I assumed the way it was phrased, he meant he wasn't made aware of it till September last year. No, September the same year. So 9 months later than Nicola Sturgeon. But he was the Justice Secretary at the time. So one was right there. He would have definitely known about it. Anyway, reacting to the answer, Mr. Finlay said, "We now have concrete evidence that Nicola Sturgeon and Humza Yousaf were aware of the Horizon problems 4 years ago, but appear to have done nothing. Victims might wonder why they showed no apparent interest in the mass miscarriage of justice, which was entirely prosecuted by the Crown Office in Scotland, an organisation that belongs to the Scottish Government. Therefore, they were prosecuted effectively by the SNP government. It was already widely reported in the media. Indeed, who is it? Private Eye have been reporting on this from day one, and they've been calling for it for years and years and years. And anyone who read Private Eye will know exactly what's been going on. The fact this key information had to be dragged out of the SNP government is typical of their culture of secrecy. Oh yeah, they wouldn't just come out and admit it. It had to be dragged out. And she did not like saying it, but now she's had to. She's been forced to. And she's thrown Sturgeon and Yousaf under the bus. Hopefully her time will soon come. Humza Yousaf will say, right, that's it. You've got to go. Fire her. She's useless anyway. In a response, Miss Constance tried to avoid responsibility for the issue. Of course she is. Not my baby, not my circus, not my monkeys. Pass the parcel. She wrote, management of the post office is a reserved matter for the UK government. Yes, it is. But prosecution is yours. She said the Scottish Government has no role in the investigation of miscarriages of justice, which is a matter for the independent Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission. Pass the buck. You're in charge. You are the Justice Secretary. Why are you not taking ownership of this? What have you got a vested interest in? Why are you not taking ownership? What is wrong with you? Is it too hard? Or is it the fact that by doing it, you'd have to then start prosecuting your own former colleagues, or soon-to-be former colleagues? She added, issues regarding the Post Office's Horizon IT system were public domain from 2009. The first record the Scottish Government has of any official or minister being made directly aware of any concerns regarding the Post Office's Horizon IT is an email from a member of the public dated the 23rd of January 2020 addressed to the then First Minister. This email related to calls for a public inquiry into the IT system, the Horizon IT system, a matter which is reserved and falls into the responsibility of the UK Government. No, it doesn't. That's quite clearly a lie. Because if it was a reserved matter, it wouldn't have been Scotland's legal system, the Crown Office, prosecuting them. An SNP spokesman said Scotland does not have the powers over the Post Office. Maybe it doesn't. So why were you prosecuting? So it could not carry out an inquiry. It's clear the whole injustice lays at the hands of Westminster and successive UK governments from start to finish. Okay, that argument is brilliant. What she's saying now, it's all down to Westminster. So Westminster now have the authority to overturn all the convictions made under Scottish law. Is that what she's saying? Because she's passing the buck and saying it's all down to Westminster. So if Westminster tomorrow said, right, no, we're abdicating all responsibility. You're abdicating all responsibility. We will clear everyone in Scotland who has been prosecuted. Well, they'd be up in arms about that, wouldn't they? How dare Westminster override Scottish law? You can't have your cake and eat it, Constance. No matter how fast you pass this buck, this is down to you. And Sturgeon knew, and Sturgeon did nothing. I hope everyone involved starts suing Sturgeon for the lack of action. She was now ultimately the responsible power in Scotland. Marvellous. Coming up. It is dirty, grimy, greasy and corrupt all the way to the top, isn't it? And nobody wants to take ownership. Now you have Constance passing the buck as fast as she can. But ultimately, of course, the buck stops at the top. The buck stops with Nicola Sturgeon. She was responsible. She knew. She could have done something. She chose not to. And at that moment, she became liable. And I hope they all sue her. I hope they all sue big. I hope they all win. And I hope she's forced to sell everything and live on the streets to make good for the damage she has elected to cause. Thanks very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.